All right, everyone, welcome back to Left of Str8 Show Interviews, the premier podcast that shares the stories of our amazing LGBTQ community and, of course, fantastic straight allies, all from entertainment, foodies, books, music, and advocacy. I'm your host, as always, Scott Fullerton, so let's start talking. All right, guys, welcome to Left of Str8 Show. Today, I dive into the life and work of an influential figure in the entertainment industry. He stands as an ally to our LGBTQ community. I'm thrilled to have Andrew Baird, a distinguished film director known for his unique cinematic vision and storytelling, in studio with me today. Andrew's made a significant mark with films like Zone 414 and One Way, and he's here to talk about his new release, Sunrise, a vampire horror movie. Let's take a look.
You don't believe in the red coat, son?
It's a story made up to scare kids.
Oh, he's out there, son. Waiting for you.
We got a distress call. They heard your wife screaming.
Guess you got no reason to be here, Deputy Fallon.
You're a peace-loving, reasonable man. But we ain't. The red coat, he's primal. We feed him. He's out there, deep in the forest.
So what do we do?
We get him out.
Do you drink human blood? You offering? What if he's the red coat?
And you know what he feeds on?
What?
Fear.
I think it's best you be on your way.
Stop! 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 Stop!
I want that bitch out of here.
What happened?
There was blood. In that soil. Come on!
What happened to you? You need to take your family. You need to leave. Trust me. What do I want?
He took the family. The fields are dying. The land done turned its back on us. It's like we've been poisoned. And we're left with fear. You ain't welcome here.
All right, we are back. Andrew Baird, welcome to Left of Str8 Show. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I am doing amazing. I'm so excited to have you on the show, and thank you so much for letting me see a screener of your new movie. I got to say, when I was doing my research, I had not seen your previous films. I went out and rented Zone 414 and the other one, so with Machine Gun One Way. One Way was absolutely amazing, and I just love the futuristic feel of Zone 414. Fantastic filmmaking, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm glad you liked them.
I thought it was great. I mean, talk about your journey into the film industry. You have a very diverse background. Your conceptual design and art direction, art production definitely contribute to a distinct style in filmmaking. What kind of made you go to the director route?
Well, I always wanted to make movies. I mean, but the way in for me was in the art direction and design and the world building. So, and I saw that with Ridley Scott and with Terry Gilliam, two really influential filmmakers on me. And so I love the creation of the worlds, but then now what I love most is the creation of the characters. So it's like, you know, I really pick scripts based on characters, you know, characters that I can really work with and cast and follow. And then the world gets, you know, built around them, you know, the
I love
characters,
that. Sure.
everything. Yeah. Yeah. So because the world building is kind of it's kind of second nature to me. So I did it so much when I was a designer. So, but I have great relationships with the production designers I work with now. It's great, you know. But there's a real kind of shorthand. They know I've done it before, and I know the ins and outs of what it takes to build these worlds, and so I'm able to kind of be very efficient and maximize the resources that we have available to us.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so cool. I mean, you can see that with Zone 414. You definitely were world building there, and you can see the progression into your other films there. I mean, the first film compared to like Blade Runner, to me, it kind of reminded me of a Westworld meets, and believe it or not, coming from an LGBTQ background, I just talked to an actor and director the other day for a new film called You Can't Stay Here that was based on Al Pacino's Cruising, and this has those same kind of cop elements for it. It has a kind of a seedy underbelly where you have the cop infiltrating it. So very much that, along with the world building. So I thought Zone 414 is very interesting.
Great. So what did you think of Sunrise? What did you compare it to? What did it remind you of?
Sunrise for me, because I'm not a typical horror movie fan, and I've become get a lot of friends lately. Sam Irvin and Michael Verratti have done a lot of horror lately, and I kind of told them that I wasn't into horror, but they said horror doesn't necessarily mean blood and guilt slasher. It kind of means that it's just gives you that edge of your seat suspense, and that's kind of what I felt with almost like in a different way Amityville back in the day, where you kind of had that more suspense than the blood and guts, even though there was some of that, but you had that suspense building, which is what I really loved about it.
Good. And what movies did it remind you of?
Like I said, kind of an Amityville for me. I think it was very much reminiscent. It has almost like like I said, Sam Irvin's a good friend of mine. He was Brian De Palma was a mentor of his. Sam does a lot of kind of shots like that. It had kind of some of Brian's movie elements to it. I think there was a lot of different diverse elements that kind of reminded me of a lot of things, to be honest.
Cool.
I was very much taken with. I love how visual things happen. I mean, but the tatteredness of the coat, kind of showing age. Like I said, I went into it with no expectations, so I didn't really know what the film was even about starting in, and just the scene where the young man goes into the room and he's kind of cowering in the corner away from the sunlight, kind of started giving me the clue of it. I thought it was built very slowly and very well into bringing that suspense, because I honestly had no idea what it was about at first.
Very good.
How is it working with Guy again for a second time? Was there a shorthand involved there? I mean, he doesn't play that many bad guys. He plays a lot of intense characters, but this, you can definitely be categorized as a bad guy. How was this for you guys to work together on something of that level?
It was really great. There was a trust built from Zone. So there's a lot of, you know, freehand, and we were able to really kind of experiment, and particularly experiment a lot with Alex as well, and just kind of just roll with it and build these really interesting characters in this pretty unusual situation.
And the story makes such great use of kind of like the looking backwards and checking out the different time periods in there. Was that intentionally in the script? Was that part of your filmmaking choices? Talk about looking back like that.
Just run that question by me again.
Oh, when you have all the flashback scene, was that written into the script, the flashbacks? I love the use of time in it. Was that
Yes.
originally in the script, or was that a directing choice for you? Or talk about how those scenes came to play.
No, that was always there. That was in the script. So, that was the reveal, right, of what happened to this guy. That was tricky. That was a tricky thing to pull off. What happened was Alex was meant to have a beard, and he showed up to the shoot with no beard, and it's like, man, and I think because with the next movie he was doing was it's Guy Ritchie's new movie. It's a World War II
Oh yeah,
Men on a Mission movie. Anyway, it probably had something to do with that. But he said anyway, he turns up with no beard, so I can't remember. But it was tricky. We had to make him look much younger in the flashbacks. So I hope we pulled it off okay. But it was technically and logistically it was tricky because also the last thing I ever want is to use fake beards and stuff. They're just dreadful. So but anyway, that the flashbacks were always in the movie. If that was your question, they were always there and they were necessary.
well, they came out very well. I mean, I think there is a 10-year gap that you can see. Alex has that definitely younger face in the flashbacks. And I just love the slow reveal of it. It wasn't like something all at once we got early on. We kind of got bits and pieces of what he was seeing as it came around. So I just thought it was very artfully done. It was amazing.
Great. Okay, wonderful. I'm glad it worked. Because there was a bit hit or miss at the time. It was like, can we pull this off? But yeah.
No, I think it was very believable. I think the 10 years came across very believable in it. And I talk about how Guy Pearce is playing kind of this bad guy, but the scariest character in the movie is actually his mom. I mean, talk about finding her. Have you worked with her before? That was kind of an amazing piece of acting there as well. I was scared to death of her.
Yeah, initially in the script, Reynolds had a father, and I changed it to a mother.
Really?
And, yes, and I did it. I did it for a couple of reasons. One, I thought the mother would be more insidious, but also it allowed me to cast Alwyn Fuere again, who I worked with on Zone. Okay, so Alwyn's an amazing Irish actress, done a lot of work around the world. She's international, does lots of she was in Mandy with Nick Cage, and she's done a lot. Alwyn's just an extraordinary kind of artist, performance artist. And so then Alwyn wanted to play the character as a male, and I was like, no, I want you to be female. So it's funny, in Zone we had the role she played in Zone, where she was the madame of the zone. Initially that was a male character as well. Wow. And we changed it to a female so Alwyn could play it. And then with Sunrise, again, it was a male changed to a female. But I wanted Joe Reynolds to have that relationship with his mom versus his father, because I just thought it was more insidious. It was more toxic.
Right.
And it is, and that's what I wanted. And then obviously then I was able to work again with Alwyn. And I like her performance in the movie. I think she's an integral part of the tone of the piece, and then the kiss between the two of them is quite a distinctive moment, right? It really
right.
Yeah. Again, that wasn't written. That was in the moment,
Well, I think you had a lot of those moments.
That was just we're blocking it out.
Right. And I think, like I said, whether scripted or not, some of those moments, just the line about the uniform and uniform doesn't mean anything and how it kind of relates back, and you see the foreshadowing of that afterwards. I think it was just a lot of great techniques all done in both the storytelling of the writing of it and in the directing. So well done on all of you.
Thank you.
Talk about the diversity. I mean, finding this cast, was the diversity, I'm sure, was baked into the script? Did you kind of pick how you wanted the diversity to be shown? Did it depend on the actors you had coming in, or how did that kind of come to play in the film?
Yeah, I mean, initially the family was African, and then African American, and then Asian. So, but you know, I mean, I like to have different. I like to have diverse cast regardless of the movie I'm making. You know, it's just interesting to me, different cultures, different nationalities. You know, so um that's important to me. Even with this next movie I'm doing, it'll be, you know, American, British, African, and that's interesting. So it just creates a flavor. But the themes of this movie, you know, the political, the racial, it was pretty potent. And so it was important that when it came to, say, the Chinese family, I very much started with Crystal, who's Chinese, and she moved to London when she was 11. So I trusted in Crystal's interpretation of all the family values and the, you know, her spiritual practices, the Loy family, you know. So a lot of that came from Crystal, and just to be authentic with that. And then regarding the Reynolds family, the puritanical Christian, that I was very aware of. So you know, you can very much find that in Ireland or the UK as you can in pockets of the United States, that sort of like heavy Christian, somewhat puritanical. Well, in the case of the Reynolds family, very puritanical, God-fearing, as they say, people.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, there was such establishing shots. I mean, you get hooked from the very beginning when they're talking to the father, but then you really see the character evolve. I think the scene in the little town grocery store was amazing and chilling. You kind of see, it's like, go ahead and give him the candy, but then you kind of, it kind of comes full circle to really his evilness. I think those were just some very delicately and wonderfully shot scenes.
Thank you. Yeah.
Now, talk about the heartbeat and the sound for it. I mean, the heartbeat is such a big part of the soundtrack. It really adds some tension. It moves the plot along. Talk about how music works in your film. I thought your music's been very strong in all three of your films. When I watch the other two, talk about how that sound design comes into play for you.
Well, the sound of, I mean, I find that I get to make the movie again with the sound, both sound design and music. It's how it sounds is important to how it looks, you know. So
right.
With Sunrise, we got a classical composer from the region. His name is Andrew, who was classically trained. He brought in some classical elements. I think he's done a really good job. My previous two movies had a London composer who was an artist, who was a like a what you call it, how would you describe Ben's music? It was like it was very contemporary.
Okay.
So it's techno, you know, it's very, very, very contemporary. So Andrew Simon McAllister's music was very different. You know, it was very classical, and that's what
Right.
you know, same as the cinematography on this is very classical, very composed. That's what I wanted, and it's a very different approach to, say, One Way. And I wanted that the vistas, you know, I wanted the great orchestral pieces for the vistas, and I wanted the very subtle, delicate pieces for the intense kind of personal family dramas and tragedies and whatever, the emotional stuff. The sound, again, as I said, all the different layers of sound design, when it's the animals, the creatures, the forest, the wind, also even with ADR, we can change things, you know, where it's not just if an actor doesn't deliver quite the way we wanted, it's sometimes just to change it for an edit, you know, in terms of, like, you know, it's like to give new information that we need. I love building the sound design, and I just love it. The sound design is so integral. Each piece of filmmaking, each layer, it's like cooking. It's like building a house. It's like every layer. If you mess up the plumbing, you're screwed. If you mess up the painting, you're screwed. If you don't do the you know, every piece has to be done with the same amount of attention to detail as the last, you know, and then it's wonderful to see it all come together, and to see it's such a privilege to get to do to make these films, you know. It really is. I mean, making the movies are easy. I mean, it's easy, and it's a joy. And I'm talking about in the mud. You got 20 minutes left to do a page of dialogue. Easy. That's easy. What's difficult is putting them together, you know, is putting those elements together, and to get that train out of the station. That can be precarious. There's a lot of money involved. There's a lot of time constraint, et cetera. That's where the difficulty lies, you know. And then talking about them like we are now, or when they get released, that's all a pleasure, you know. But in saying that, you've got to stay focused on each element. It's a real marathon making films versus, like, say, I come from commercials and music videos, and well, to say I come from that, I did that for a long time, but I did initially come from films as well. But it takes a lot of focus and consistency all the way through the process, because you're the director, you're the filmmaker, and it's very, particularly then if you're into another movie, you can lose focus, you know. And it's very important that you stay completely focused on the job at hand with the current movie, because every part of the process is vital, and the music is one of the final pieces, and then the final mix of the music and the sound, it's crucial. And with this movie, I was back in LA, and I did this final mix here, virtually, to Northern Ireland, where we did we did most of the posts in Northern Ireland. We used the facility in LA to check things, you know. Sugar Studios, who are great. Yellow Moon did all the post in Northern Ireland, did a great job as well. So this movie is 95% Northern Irish talent people.
I saw that, and you talk about the cinematography, which was absolutely amazing with the use of the fog and the smoke. Was that natural to Northern Ireland? Did you have to make a lot of that yourself? Because it really helps set the mood as much as the music does. Also, the look with very much that fog and kind of the low clouds brought a lot of feel to it as well. Were you lucky in that, or did you have to create that?
Well, everything gets designed, but so I brought a great DP from New York. He's Slovakian. I'd worked with him on music videos before, Ivan Abel. So he was brilliant. And I had a local production designer, Ashley Jeffers, who's a really great designer. And then, I found this great forest called Gorton Glen, which is full of these Californian, not redwoods, but I don't know what the trees are. It looks straight out of the Pacific Northwest. So I grounded the whole movie in that forest, put the town in the middle of it. And all the smoke and the fog is in camera. It's not natural, but it's in camera. We created it in camera. There's very little visual effects plates on smoke or fog or anything like that. There's not a lot of, very few visual effects in the movie. So so that was all. I like to do as much as possible in camera, because then it feels much more real. And we had local physical effects unit, and he was great. The lead guy on that, Frankie, was great. And smoke is an art form for movies. People can mess it up. Yeah, it totally is. It's like painting with smoke is the same as painting with light. It's like it's an atmosphere, and you have to control it in a certain way. And if you're out in the elements, I have to say the guy on Sunrise was great, and the team on my previous movie One Way in Georgia was very good as well. I love atmosphere. I love fog. It adds a certain dreaminess to it. It just, I don't know, there's something about it that just really captures the environment. The next movie I'm doing, it's all sunshine and heat and sweat and blue skies and water, and it's a very different kind of movie. Much more, I think Sunrise completes a kind of a trilogy of dark, moody, brooding movies and themes. So now I'm moving into a more expanded commercial kind of zone. This next movie is called Cape Point. Yeah.
That's great. I mean, and like you said earlier, you are such a great finder of characters and character driven. I mean, cast, I was expecting Travis Fimmel to just kind of come in as a cameo at any time. You picked some great actors there. I was so pleasant to see Coulson's performance in One Way. I'm not that kind of music fan and everything, but I saw him in Dirt because I kind of have a connection to Tommy Lee. He grew up in my neighborhood. We knew each other a bit. And so I wanted to see that film. And that was my first kind of introduction to Coulson, and seeing him carry One Way was amazing. But then you have people like Kurt Yeager with this, and you have Alex, and they signed on as executive producers. I think that shows a huge part of belief in you and in the film, to kind of have that. A lot of people can be just actors and hands off no matter what happens. But when you sign on to produce, that's I think a big ringing endorsement of a film.
Yeah, for sure. It's great. My actors are my collaborators in a massive way. I could collaborate with everyone. I love to collaborate. It's that's what this is all about. But movies require a leader, and I'm a good leader. Sometimes, and it's a driver. You got to be the driver as well. And sometimes it can be annoying, as my partners say, but I'm the driver. So here comes Andrew again. And sometimes you just, can someone else just drive this, But in the end, if you're the filmmaker, it's a film mostly gets made by one filmmaker, in terms of like one vision. And it's like, then you've got all these collaborators, and all these people come with all these great ideas, and it's wonderful. And you're foolish if you don't embrace all these ideas and be open to ideas, good, bad, or indifferent, and take the good and leave the bad. And that's what it is. But you've also got to drive it, and you've got to have your singular point of view. And then what you're looking for is the right collaborators to complement that. But make no mistake, films get made by one singular point of view.
Right. Well said. Well said. I agree 100%.
Well, I mean, good films, good films. When films are made by committee, they're a disaster. And
Right.
I've been blessed by tremendous amount of support and creative control of the movies I've done so far. And to be honest, I don't see another way of doing it, you know? So I'll always take more control and less resources than less control and more resources, because I don't know another way to do it. You know, it's like, who's telling the story here? You know, I mean,
Right.
because if you have multiple people telling the story, it's a mess, you know?
No, makes perfect sense. I agree 100%. We got to wrap it up here, because I know you're talking to a lot of people today. So I want to kind of finish it up. What was maybe the biggest challenge, and what was maybe the biggest accomplishment you felt this film? I mean, one way, you were in that small space, you were in that bus the entire time, you're world building in Zone 414. What was the biggest obstacle for Sunrise, and what was you think your biggest achievement for Sunrise?
Well, the biggest obstacle was the way it was financed so quickly, and it was so precarious, because by the time we got Guy and Alex, we kind of, usually with these independent movies, they get financed within the film markets, you know, whether it's Cannes or AFM, et cetera, and we just kind of missed AFM, and we had to finance it we just had to finance it after AFM, and it happened so fast, and it was very precarious. So resources were tight, but it was just a real fly by the seat of your pants scenario, you know? And
Right.
then, you know, then on top of it, you're trying to create this world, this American town in this Northern Irish region and this other region, and that was tricky, particularly when resources were tight. But again, you just roll with that. So that was the biggest challenge, was just the mentality of, like, you know, we're on shaky financial ground here, because we're moving so fast. But and as a director, a filmmaker, and I've been a producer and executive producer on these movies, and it's how I operate. I have to be involved in the production of it. I'm aware of all these things, and it allows me then to make very clear, astute decisions, practical decisions that can cut through a lot of nonsense, that where we can't afford something, or it's going to cost us, you know, it's going to cost us resources that we don't need to deploy in a certain area and keep them for another area. And a lot of that is from, I don't know, my background. Maybe, as I said, like, I was a production designer. I worked with many directors, very few good ones, and I learned a lot of what not to do. And, you know, you need to make decisions quickly and efficiently, and you need to, as a director, show clarity and confidence. And because otherwise people start to be like, they don't know what they're doing. Like, you know, well, if they don't know what they're doing, we don't know what to do. So but look, that comes quite naturally to me. And so that's it, you know? So it's just like the biggest challenge, I think, like often with movies, is money and time. Oh yeah, and we had to shoot it in a very prudent amount of time as well.
Right. No, I bet. Well said. Well, Andrew Baird, I appreciate you taking the time to come on the show today. Fantastic movie.
Well, thanks so much for your time, Scott. Pleasure to talk to you.
Pleasure talking to you as well, my friend.
See you soon.
Hey guys, in the studio today with me, I'm thrilled to have Alex Pettyfer with me. He's a remarkable talent in the film industry. Alex's first work came across my radar when he was in I Am Number 4. Fantastic film, and I've been following his career ever since. He's since ventured into directing and producing. His newest endeavor has him co-starring and executive producing on the upcoming film Sunrise, further cementing his multifaceted skill set in the industry. So please welcome to Left of Str8 Show for the first time, Alex Pettyfer. Alex, how we doing, my friend?
I need you as like what do they call these people that go out and hype man? I need you as my hype man.
There you go. There you go. I'm not. I don't want to say too much because we don't want to get Annie to hate me here. She's giving me some great interviews, so I don't do this well at all. So we'll leave that alone. Hey, thanks so much for coming on. Like I said, I first came associated you with I Am Number 4. At the time, this is an LGBTQ podcast for LGBTQ people and straight allies. And at the time, there's such similarities in kind of figuring out who you are and being a different kind of person. It really resonated with a lot of the kids I was working with at the LGBTQ Center. So thank you so much for doing that. And that's like carrying a whole film. You were very, of course, front and center in your teenage years, but what was it like to carry a movie for the first time?
With I Am Number 4?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I had done 3 films before that where I also was the lead. The first kind of film, actually the first kind of thing I ever did was a film called Tom Brown's School Days, where I played Tom Brown. And that was a coming of age story, funny enough, about a young boy who went to boarding school in the UK and was badly bullied, and kind of had to overcome adversity and kind of discover who he was. And then the second film was Stormbreaker, right, which is also a film about identity and a young boy who is a spy coming to terms with the reality of his circumstances. So I guess there was a theme as a young man with the films that I had been given the opportunity to be a part of. So yeah, I guess that theme thread through for a little longer than I expected.
Well, it's very appreciated. And like I said, it's been great watching your talent kind of grow, seeing into the directing. I mean, all of your choices had some great cast members, even back in Stormbreaker. I am a huge Robbie Coltrane fan, and of course, Stephen Fry. I mean, you've worked with some amazing people going through your big debut. Jennifer Morrison, Once Upon a Time, was one of my favorite shows. So it's like you've worked with some great people, and now you're for your second time with Guy Pearce in Sunrise. Talk about this. I mean, this is one of those interesting roles where you don't really have a lot of the lines in this thing, right? It's very quiet. So a lot of your acting's internal. How is this as a challenge to act in again?
I think for me, like, the protagonist of the film is obviously Guy, you know, and I think that I think for me, the character, when I read Sunrise, he had dialogue, a lot of it. And I spoke to Andrew and I said, you know, this character's journey is a part of a larger understanding of what this theme of this film is. And I said, and I kind of would love to create more of an ominous character, more of a metaphor for something bigger. And how do you feel if I cut all my lines? And you know, that's a huge feat for Andrew, the director, because obviously, you know, there has to be a real faith in the story that he's telling through not only the narrative of the visuals, but also the narrative of what he's doing with Guy, because obviously he is quote unquote, in movie terms, the villain. But if you sympathize with this man, of, you know, what he's going through with the fear that is running through him, then also obviously this family that has dealt with the loss of their father and dealing with, you know, a hard subject matter. You know, having this this character be misunderstood was something that I really wanted to create. And I think where you have a character that's misunderstood, the less that they say throughout this film and the more it is about the action that they portray, I thought was a more powerful note. So kudos to Andrew for allowing allowing me to do that. Yeah.
Well, it was an amazing role for you, my friend. You did it fantastic. I guess you had to be, it's just kind of funny you say that, because Andrew was saying, I talked to him the other day. He was saying, yeah, he thought you were going to become this bushy beard and you came in clean shaven. So you were giving him challenges left, right, and second, my friend. That's so funny. I love that.
Yeah. Well, technically the character goes through this without giving too much away. He is a policeman, you know. Do you want to actually see something funny? The watch I wear in the movie, I'm wearing right now.
Really? That's awesome. I love that. That is so cool.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
go
No,
ahead.
just to add on to that, is that he is a policeman in this ominous town. And so being clean shaven and kind of, wearing I said I want to wear something that kind of reminds me of the time of when I was in the force. And, he doesn't have this big bushy beard because I didn't want to give this timeline away of how long he had, how long time had passed since an event that happened for him and the movie. So, yeah, just creating like little mysteries, should we say, along the way.
I think you did some great choices. And how you've gone through so much of your career now. I mean, Backroad was an amazing directorial debut. You've now have your own production company. You're executive producing things. How easy it is for you now to kind of switch hats like that, go from actor to director to producer? Do you think this all the time in your head, or how are you able to compartmentalize all that?
Well, Dark Dreams Entertainment.
There you go.
No, I think we care about just telling stories, like stories that intrigue us as a team. And we're really, really blessed that we've been given these opportunities to be able to make movies that we care about. Sunrise being one of them. Sunrise is a Dark Dreams film. And collaborating with great talent like Guy Pearce. And I think at the end of the day, the key for us as a company and the key for me is working with people that not only inspire me, but help me to grow and learn and collaborate with, yeah, so.
I love that. And then the genre, I mean, horror means so many different things to so many different people. And this has that kind of it's a vampire's tale is how it's described, but it's done so methodically. And I was talking to Andrew, I love the way you don't really even notice anything. I didn't even notice what it was exactly into the sunlight thing. And that's such a subtle way to portray this. What was it like to kind of go into this genre?
I said to Andrew, I'm not making a vampire movie. I was like, I'm not making a vampire movie where there's fangs and this and that. I was like, and we shot in Northern Ireland, and there's like a lot of methodical elements to being there, and the setting, and yes, okay, there are themes if you want to play into the publicizing of a film, the vampire elements, but really it's a psychological thriller, and it's a family drama. It's about a family struggling with their circumstances, and there's a beautiful grounding to that, and these mystical elements are just another layer that add on to a really visually beautiful film with a lot of subtle metaphors,
Right. Well, I know you got a lot of press going for this, so I appreciate your time. Last thing I'll ask here is talk about to me what you kind of hope that the viewers will take away from this. Like you said, it's this great psychological. I think it's just amazing the way, with your last words. I mean, the scariest scene for me was when you were kind of confronting the mother. That was just so well done, and not even any words in that. What was one of your favorite scenes to film?
I think my favorite scene to film is I'm chopping wood, and I can't even remember. I am so. I shot this a year ago. So the son, let's say the son comes back, who has just gone through an incident where he's been privy to some form of bullying, and we have this conversation about kind of identity and about who we are as people. And there's this beautiful phrase, "This too shall pass," and as the sun rises and sets, the darkness comes and goes, and we will always project through these hard times, and it's important not to attach to the good times, and it's important to not attach to the bad times, and just have a healthy onlook onto life's journey. And even though this conversation is very subtle between both characters, it's a really beautiful. It has a really beautiful, deeper meaning to the film and to life.
Great words to end on, my friend. Alex Pettyfer, thanks so much for coming on the show. I know you have a very busy day ahead of you. Guys, get out and see Sunrise now. It's going to be streaming and out in theaters near you. Sir, thank you so much. I hope to see you again in a future project. Have a great afternoon, okay?
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Hey everyone, Kurt Yeager is here in studio with me, an accomplished actor, disability advocate, and passionate motorcycle enthusiast. Kurt has captivated audiences with dynamic roles in advocacy work, known for his recurring role as Greg the Peg in the acclaimed FX series Sons of Anarchy. And of course, you all know my favorite series, NCIS, where he's contributed to each incarnation of the franchise. Kurt's journey in both his personal and professional life is nothing short of remarkable. He signed on as both actor and executive producer in the new Andrew Baird film Sunrise, coming out now. I can't wait to talk to him about all of this and more. Please welcome Kurt. How you doing, buddy?
Good. Thank you to the show. Appreciate it, Scott.
I appreciate you taking the time, my friend. I'm so excited to talk to you. I kind of know you peripherally. I'm a huge NCIS fan. I was really pissed off what you did to Daniela and Kenzie. So we were not on speaking terms for a while, but I'm over it now. So
I know. We're friends. Danny and I are friends in real life, so we're actually okay. But everyone was like, "Oh, I can't believe you were gonna take her away from Deeks, and you were making a legitimate love interest." And then the audience, I guess, was so mad about that the writers were like, "We probably should make Kurt a bad guy." And then they made me so bad.
You helped form the plot of the show. You informed the rest of the show. I like that.
It was great.
Now, I said the first 4 incarnations. Are you heading to Sydney anytime soon?
I don't know. Maybe we can all make that happen today.
Oh, there you go. Fingers crossed. I will put out the feelers, my friend.
Yeah. I'd love to.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm excited to talk to you. I'm about 10 years older than you, but I grew up on dirt bikes. I ended up becoming friends with the friends of Bruce Penhall, who did speedway racing. So I love the motorcycle. I've always been a chubby guy. Couldn't do the bikes. That was too much pedaling for me, but I'm good on the motorcycles. So it's kind of great to talk to you about that. And after your story, watching that amazing Waiting All Night from Rudimental. Such a story, my friend. I'm so impressed with everything you've done, and congratulations on all this.
Thank you. I grew up like you on dirt bikes and just playing around. So the idea was just trying to figure out the having fun and playing and figuring out life along the way. But where did you grow up?
I was not too far from you. I actually grew up in West Covina, California. So I was there. Cool. We would go up into Azusa Canyon and ride there a lot, and then Irwindale. So
So you get a lot of fun riding motorcycles, and you learn riding motorcycles. You crash and you get back up, and that's the only way to keep learning and getting better. And that's a great analogy for life. That's a great, okay, how many mistakes can I make? Well, it's okay as long as you learn and go forward.
Right. I love that. I mean, and I thought of you too. I heard something last month that's kind of become my motto now, and it very much encompasses you. They said something like, you don't really learn anything from your successes, right? You need to fail in order to move forward and everything. So success is great to have, but you haven't really learned anything from the experience too much, right?
I say failure is the process of success. Like you have to fail. I mean, think about a baby walking. That's something as simple as that. The baby doesn't take a step and fall down or go right onto its, butt and go, oh, that's it, forget it. And but we as adults forget that because we get our emotions wrapped up in it. We get like what other people think of us, and just like you have to fail. You have to fail left and right in order to figure it out. So do more.
I bet. No, that's a great motto. Like I said, I'm trying to live by that more and just not being afraid of failure. We're always kinds afraid of it, but when you take it as a learning experience, I think you
Yeah.
can only move forward, exactly like you said. So
Yeah. And some of them are, harder than others.
true that for sure. Well, talk about you didn't start acting until after your accident. You had this motorcycle accident. For those that don't
Yeah.
know, lost part of your left leg below the knee there. What kind of all the things while you're sitting there and healing, what made you think acting was going to be the way you wanted to go?
It was actually an interesting story. Like before that, I did some stunts, like I rode BMX professionally. So I did that for many, many years. And I did a few stunts for some shows and some projects. And I did this like thing called Rocket Power Live, which was a live version of like a Nickelodeon show that they did way back in the day. And then, to me, it was for, acting and performing, and frankly, emotions were for those people. For I othered myself down, right? Like,
Gotcha.
didn't really think it could be me, even the beginning of our conversation, face for radio. It's like, no, don't other yourself down. And I think that being in a hospital for 3 months and then recovery for another year really makes you go, okay, life's precious. Why am I afraid of something? Why am I not doing what I would like to do? So I've chosen these other things. And it just dawned on me, maybe I should. In a small conversation with my buddy Kai, he was like, "Oh, you should totally pursue this." And I was like, "That's a horrible idea. Like, that's not me." And so he took my photo and sent it in for a casting call for a movie that I thought was ridiculous. I read these lines. I learned a little bit of Farsi in order to say the lines because I had a big beard at the time. I let it grow out for like 6 months because I was like, who cares? And then I got cast in it, and I came down and I was working with Tom Hanks and Amy Adams and Charlie Wilson's work.
Right.
And I'm like working, and Mike Nichols took me aside. He's like, "How long have you been acting?" And I was like, "Today." And he's like, "You're incredible. You're a truth teller." And I was like, "Is that acting?" He's like, "Most of it." He's like, "If you're a truth teller, that's all it is. Like, it's showing up and being truthful, finding the truth in every character in the story, and how, and then it reverse engineers it because you have to find truth in you. You know what I mean? Like, if you're lying to yourself when you go on camera, that's an extension of a lie. And it's like, you have to be more truthful. So it's like a weird, like long-term psychological, like counseling session, that sort of helps.
Exactly. Yeah, this show is primarily for an LGBTQ audience and our straight allies and everything. And we always like to say we've been acting our entire lives until we come out, right? So yeah, you're learning to fake it until you make it. But you must have such a natural ability. That's amazing.
Yeah, I was born and raised in San Francisco, so my hometown is where everything began. Well, the Harvey Milks and everything else. So yeah,
there you go. Well, I just think it's amazing. I mean, your story, like, did you send that music video to Jeremy Renner? I mean, you were Jeremy Renner OG.
Yeah.
I mean, just amazing what you went through, how you can recover from all these multiple injuries you had. Now he has all these multiple injuries, and I saw him on Christmas time jogging up and down his driveway. You guys are just like so inspirational.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy because, that music video came about by people reaching out and wanting to do that. And then I got, it has, I don't remember now, what is it, like 150 million views or something? 200 million views?
Yeah, it's over that. Yeah.
I don't even know what it's at now. I mean, you can totally look, but I get so many messages and so many wonderful things from that. And everyone is saying it's inspirational. And it's almost like, when you're in it, you don't realize it's important. You're just in it. You're like figuring it out. And then everyone looking at it from the outside is like, oh my gosh, go. It's like being in a race, right? You're watching the race car drivers or maybe like a runner, and you're like, yeah, go. And you're excited for them. And you're like, we're all excited. The person in the race is just, like they don't realize that's what it looks like. They're
Right.
just did it. So it's just a different like take on it. You're like, well, what other choice did I have than to be inspirational, which was just quit. Like I didn't have that option in my mind. I was like, well, I
Right.
can't. And if I'm not going to quit, I might as well do the best I can. And if I'm going to do the best I can, I might as well give it my all and see where it goes. I mean,
And then you pay it forward after that. I mean, your advocacy is out of this world. I think it's so important. You've done some great work in the film industry. Like I said, relating it back to the LGBTQ industry, people of color, women. There's always a minority group that's kind of fighting to get a voice, and you provided that voice for so many actors. Talk about that. What are some misconceptions you've tried to overcome within the industry about working with disabled actors?
I mean, there's disability like advocacy, and then there's regular advocacy, and I think they have like crossing overs. And one thing that I try to advocate for is, what I would call authentic representation, as opposed to like just kind of putting a button on the end of it. It's like when you're looking for, let's say, a disability and you want it on camera, right? And this applies to everything, but it's like, are you having a producer, director, writer, casting director, and agent who are all able-bodied considering what a good role is, and then it gets to the disabled actor and they're like, yeah, this is horrible. Where like authentic representation is, write a really good character, and then if there's nothing that's impeding that character's ability, have a person with a disability playing that character. It's like, okay, like let's just say gay. What's a gay guy? What's a gay character? Well, I mean, like I said, San Francisco. So I know there's bears and wolves and otters and all the different types, right? There's more like, flaming ones and less, and there's more like the muted ones, and then there's ones that you would never know, and you're like, whoa, and all over the place. And so what do we see on TV? Right? That almost the same type over and over. And you're like, no, where's me? Where's the guy who likes working on a motorcycle who's gay?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, okay, where's that guy? Where, you see what I'm saying? And so there's like a prototypical inclusion, but there's not a non-prototypical inclusion. And that's what I try and look for, is like, where's the difference? So with disabilities, you think, oh, if it doesn't say character uses a wheelchair, we're not going to cast a wheelchair using actor. Where let's say the role is, I mean, you can name 100 different professions, but let's just say mom. There are moms who are wheelchair users. There's nothing in it that said that she's, living in a certain house. Is the house on like stilts? Like, you know what I mean? Like, because if it was, that house then would have a ramp, so it would be normal. So does she have kids? Well, that wheelchair doesn't exclude a woman from having kids. Like, they have kids, then they're married and they have successful jobs. What kind of a job? Well, secretary, nurse, doctor, lawyer.
Right.
But you see all like, oh no, she's disabled. She's a wheelchair user. So that's the totality of her character. Like, gay is the totality of your character. It's like, that's just an orientation of one part of my existence. There's the other parts, like all the things in your background, like you collect knickknacks and you like antiques. You're right. Like, you're like, what about that?
Said. Very well said. All right, well, let's get into this movie before Amy kind of shoots me over the air here, because I want to talk about the movie here. I think it's amazing when an actor will put his stamp on his executive producer, because that's, I mean, as an actor, you can say, well, the film was this, but when you put your stamp on as executive producer, I think it really shows a belief in the film. Talk about that process, what drew you to it as both an actor and to put your name on it as a producer.
Yeah, as an actor, it's really interesting because the character is a little bit different than characters I play, because he's not the leading guy. And I don't mean that in like, even if he's 3 in 1, 2, and 3 on the call sheet, right? Like, let's say that he was subjugated by both characters. And I never get to play a character who's strong but weak at the same time, right? Like, who's like not just like aggressive, like, oh, I got muscles I can take down you, right? Like something different. And then as a producer, I mean, there's a lot of different factors. Is the script good? Do you like the director? Do you like the vision? Is the money gonna be good? Right? Like all of these different factors. Where are we filming? Who's the crew? what producers do I want to work with for the next year and a half? Because that's how long you're going to be dealing with people on one particular project minimum.
Right.
So you got to think about like what kind of characters you want to be around, right? And I don't mean like actors, I mean characters, because everyone's a character. So
True,
like you're like,
true.
okay, like Jib, one of the producers, is just absolutely amazing guy, and so is Martin, who's over in and Janine. They're both great people who are filmmakers in Ireland. And they're lovely people, and filming in Ireland, Northern Ireland, is wonderful, and the people are wonderful. So you're like, okay, I'm gonna have a great time with a great crew, like from Ivan or Carl, who are the camera crew, you know, to Andrew being the director, to you know, one of the guys, Sean, who is one of the drivers. Like just driving with someone for an hour every day, both directions.
Right.
You have to have good people around you, or you're like, why am I doing this for this many months? It's horrible.
I love that. Exactly.
You need all
Well,
of
you
it,
hit
you
on
know?
something too I wanted to talk about. I mean, this movie, fear is one of the main themes of it, right? And I think you had such a great, you had to show the fear because you had people coming at both sides. Like I said, you had Alex's character coming, you had the other character coming from you, you had Guy's character coming from you. So, but you were the sheriff, right? You are a pillar in this community. So I think you used your eyes, your mannerism. That had to be a kind of a hard or a fun acting challenge for you as well.
Yeah, it's interesting, that character, you know, you have to be strong enough and weak enough all at the same time. So what I took was sort of a character who is powerful but doesn't know it. And like the thing I was talking about earlier is, you know, a lot of our belief systems comes from our childhood experiences. And let's just say that this guy my character was let's say the smaller kid and was beat up a lot. So he always interpreted himself as the smaller kid. Then as he grew up, he was bigger than everyone else, but doesn't see it. So he's internally the smaller kid, even though he has a dominant, larger presence than everybody. He doesn't know he could just reach out and snap somebody's neck. He's like, oh no, now I'm back where I'm like someone who's this tall is 4 foot above him. It's just that emotional like baggage I wanted to put into the character. And the only person that he opens himself up to is the mom. You see, he like asks questions like, really? You see that little child like come out. Everyone else, he's like, I don't know, I don't like you. And the mom, he's like, really? What word? No, I don't know the word. You know, and it's like just a little sweeter.
I said it to Alex and Andrew. She was the scariest character of the entire film to me. I mean, just her steeliness was just, and her sense of purpose. She was a scary character.
It was great to work with Olwen. She's great.
I bet.
Fantastic.
I love that. What do you hope that audiences will take away from the film in general and your character, your portrayal?
The film, I want them just to have a good time and enjoy film, and everyone go like, that was fun. I'm glad I watched it. Okay, cool. Really beautiful visuals, nice stuff. But that there's a dynamic range of characters that are in the project that don't seem like they're just stuck there, right? Like you believe that each of these characters is associated with one another at some capacity. But then also that, you know, the point of the film is the idea of fear ripping the lives of all of these people apart if you let fear in, whether it's fear of others, like fear of retribution, fear by dominance. Like it's just like, don't have fear, like fear of failure. Like we talked in the beginning, like don't have fear of failure because then you failed because now you're not trying. It's the fear that really, really will get you down. The fear of being wrong, of looking in the mirror. Like how hard is it to look in the mirror all the way? Like deep down, you're like, oh,
love that.
We all are like that at some point, you know, at some column, right?
Right. Oh, I love that. That's awesome.
I guess it's fear. Don't let it own you.
Such a great takeaway from that. I love that. Well, we got to start wrapping it up here. I know you're real busy with press today, but I want to talk about how are you? You've been so busy, you have so many projects on the burner. You've been working so much lately. How do you find a balance in your passion for acting and for your advocacy and time for motorcycle and motocross riding? And congratulations on being married. Which is she most afraid of when you get out there in the world?
Yeah. I mean, She's over there right now. She's the best. She's the best. That's it. Don't say it. Don't tell her. She doesn't need to know that. She's smiling. I don't really find a good balance. I really don't. Like I work really hard. But here's the thing is I love it. So maybe it's an unhealthy addiction, but I would prefer to do this 16 hours a day than anything else. You need breaks here and there, but at the same time, it's so addicting. And so, and here's why it's addicting, not because it's good to me, because it's hard. That's the addicting thing to me. So I would say that I probably need to have a better, healthier work-life balance. I have kitties and we go on a motorcycle ride and I play disc golf and things like that. But she's always yelling at me, you got to make memories with me. We're always just working. And I'm like, I know, I'm sorry. So that's something I got to work on.
I think it's something we all got to work. Work-life balance is difficult, my friend.
Hard.
So,
especially, when like the prices are rising and everything's rising, you're like, my money's not going as far as it used to. Like that's
oh my goodness, I tell you, it's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, let's finish up with you. You've produced, you've acted, you've done some writing. I loved your little beer series. That was kind of hilarious. I watched about 12 of those little mini videos. Have you, what is the next thing that you're going to actually create for yourself? Have you thought about writing, producing, and creating your own project that combines anything together? Or tell me about that.
Yeah. I wrote a couple of features, one that landed on the blacklist. So it's like the better unproduced feature films of the year. And then I developed a project that Sony optioned. And so we're going to be taking that out this next couple of months. And that one's called The Roach. It's based off of Rhett Bruno's book, The Roach. And I have like 4 other projects in development with showrunners, but it's hard. Like, I mean, there's a combination of, the catch-22 is if you're not big enough yet to tentpole that, then you can't tentpole the thing that'll make you big enough. Like, but like it's support and people pushing for it that'll make it happen, and that I think that poor life work balance.
I think you are hitched to a star, my friend. I appreciate you. Kurt Yeager, thanks for taking the time to come on the Left of Str8 Show. The new movie Sunrise is streaming and in the theaters this week. Thank you for your time, my friend. We have to talk again sometime. I hope you get to Australia for NCIS because, like I said, I've loved all your work on that.
Hey, man, make a phone call from your mouth to God's ears, right?
There you go. I'll do what I can for you. You have a great rest of the afternoon press day. I appreciate you so much, and we'll talk to you later, okay?
All right. Take care, Scott.
Thanks for listening to The Left of Str8 Show. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast distributor, and please give us a 5-star rating so more listeners can find us. You can follow us on social media, and be sure to check out our website, www.leftofstraightradio.com, for contests and other news and information. See you next week.